Hello guys, welcome back to our channel. Today let's talk about user impersonate in this video. Consider a situation in your project. Your user encounter a situation that you cannot explain them. In those situations, it is very useful if you can literally impersonate them. You sign into their account without having their login credentials and take action on their behalf, or if the user has encountered an error, you can see the error for yourself. Here is the demo that we are going to develop in this video. I am already signed in with admin account Harish. We will navigate to admin/impersonate page. Here we have a simple form where we can enter another user email address, for example john@example.com, and on click this impersonate button. Here we go. Now we are signed in using that email address. Now we can do whatever we need in their account. Here we have stop impersonating button. Now if we click on this button, then we switch back to admin account Harish. To develop this feature, we will also write PHP unit test cases as well. So before moving ahead, if you are new to this channel, hit the red subscribe button and press bell icon so you could never miss our upcoming videos. Now let's start. First we will create fresh Laravel project. Let's name it impersonate. Next cd impersonate and open this project in the editor. Now first we're gonna configure the database in .env file. I have already created database in MySQL. So here database name is impersonate, db username is QRelab and password is secret. In the terminal I will run php artisan make auth to generate quick authentication scaffolding. And next we're gonna run php artisan migrate to create tables in database. Our next step is to configure php unit.xml file for our test cases. At the bottom right here, I will add environment variables for database credentials. Here we're gonna add db connection, SQLite. If we see config database.php file, right here at SQLite, we need to add db database. So in php unit.xml, here we will add db database in memory. We commonly use SQLite in memory database for executing our test cases because we do so many transactions in the database for testing. SQLite in memory performs these transactions very fast and we can execute hundreds of tests in couple of seconds. Now all basic configurations are done. Now we're gonna start creating impersonating a user feature. I will start this by writing a test. You can see in here test feature directory we have example test.php file. So let's delete this. You can also see example test.php file in unit directory as well. Delete this one also. Next in the terminal I will run php artisan make test impersonate user test. It will create impersonate user test.php file in test feature directory. As you can imagine, you cannot expose an endpoint like this that allows you to sign in as any user. You absolutely have to be sure that this endpoint is protected and it should only open to admin user. For that, we're gonna create a test. Non-admin user cannot access impersonate page. Now what we want to say, if you are a guest, you have no permission to access admin/impersonate endpoint. So we will say if you try to hit that admin/impersonate, it will redirect to the login page. Now to test this in terminal, we will run vendor bin php unit. In my terminal, I have created php unit alias. So instead of running this long path, I can just run php unit. Here we get the response status code 404 as expected because we have not created this endpoint yet. So let's navigate to routes web.php and we will add that route here. Path is admin impersonate. I always like to add admin routes in admin namespace. So here we'll say the controller is admin slash impersonate controller at index. Now if we run PHP unit again, here we get 500 status code, but it has not displayed any feedback. What is the error? So what we're gonna do, here we will call this without exception handling method. Run PHP unit again. Now we got the proper feedback with the issue. Impersonate controller does not exist. I always like our test without exception handling because I always like to see proper feedback if any test fails, so we can easily identify what the issue is. So in test case.php, here we will say public function setup parent setup, and here we will call this without exceptional handling. Now we can delete this from here. Let's run PHP unit again. And we got proper feedback. This admin impersonate controller does not exist. Now let's create this controller. PHP artisan make controller admin impersonate controller. Run PHP unit. Now index method does not exist. Let's create this method in app http controller admin impersonate controller public function index. Run test again. Now we get 200 status code. It is hitting index method, but here we wanted to assert redirect to login page. So let's do this. Here we will create the construct method. This middleware and pass auth. Let's give it another shot. This time we get the unauthentication exception as expected. So to make it green, in testcase.php, here we can comment this. Run PHP unit. Now it's green and our test is passing. Or other thing what we can do, uncomment this. Here we can add this with exceptional handling. Give it another shot and we are green. So if you are not signed in and you visit that endpoint, you should go to the login page. But let's imagine that user is signed in. So we will say this acting as user. Let's create this user factory app user class create, and here we do the exact same thing again, and I'm going to assert that the status code is 403. So this way we can confirm that if you are a guest and you try to do this, it's not going to work, and if you are a regular user, it is not gonna work either. We will run test again. No such table users. This is because here we have to use refresh database. It will execute migration for every test and roll back after test complete. Run test once again. This time we get 200 status rather than 403. So here we need custom middleware or something else to ensure that the user is an admin. So let's keep it really simple and we will say if the user can administrate something like that. Now we will go to auth service provider. Here to the boot method we will say get before function. It will accept the user and here you perform whatever the logic you need to determine if the currently authenticated user has permission to perform that action. So what we gonna do here, let's say user table has role column. So we will say if user role is equal to admin, then return true. Now let's add role column to users table. So in database migrations, create user table migration file. Here we will add table string role and the default value is member. Now run PHP unit. Class app provider get not found. Here is a typing mistake. I guess you have already noticed that. Run test again. Response status code 403 is not a redirect status code. We are failing right here. This is because we have removed auth middleware here in the construct method. Let's add this again. PHP unit and we get green. So far we have not tested this in the browser. So before testing on the browser, let's run PHP artisan migrate refresh because we have added a new role column in the users table. Next I will split terminal and here I will run PHP artisan serve. Open this URL in the browser. If we try to visit admin/impersonate path as a guest, we will immediately redirect to login page. Now let's register a new account. Harish at example.com, password and register. Again, if we try to visit admin/impersonate path, this time we will get 403 error because we are not an admin user. So let's go to the terminal. PHP artisan tinker user is equal to app user first. User role is equal to admin. Next, user save. Now we are an admin user. So this time if we visit admin/impersonate, this time we can access this page. Of course we did not see anything here because we did not printed anything from the controller action. To verify it, echo hello. Here it get printed. Our next step is to create view for this page. So let's go ahead and create this view. Return view admin.impersonate.index. Let's create this index blade file. Resources, views. Here we will create admin impersonate index.blade.php. Next we will steal some markup from auth login.blade.php. Here we will say impersonate a user. Form action is admin/impersonate. We need this email field. Next, we don't need this password field, so delete this. And we also don't need this remember field. Next, here we say impersonate to this login button. And we also do not need this. Let's see this in browser. Hit refresh. And this is pretty much our form. Next, we want to submit this form and impersonate that user. So let's create a new test for this in impersonate user test.php. Similar to this test, we do not want that a non-admin user can submit impersonate request. So we say non-admin user cannot impersonate user. Let's copy these from here because our test is pretty much the same. Here we will submit a post request. This is also a post request. Now if we run PHP unit, we get 405 error. This is because we have not created post route yet. So let's create this post route in routes web.php, duplicate this. This is a post route and action is impersonate. Now let's run the PHP unit again and here we get green. Even we have not created this impersonate method because we have already implemented protection here. For sanity check, let's comment this. We can also run this particular test using PHP unit --filter is equal to and then test. Here it failed. Uncomment this, run test again and it passes. Next, let's add another test to make sure admin can impersonate a user. Here we say we have a user and also we have an administrator user and we do this role is equal to admin. Next we will sign in as the administrator, so acting as the admin. Next we will submit this endpoint and we will pass the email address of the user that we want to impersonate. So finally our assertion will be this assert equals auth id is equals to user id. Okay, so we are saying sign in as the administrator, then submit post request to this endpoint to impersonate that user. And if we did everything right, well then currently authenticated user should not be the administrator, it should now be the user that we are impersonating. Let's go ahead and run the test. And of course it fails. Here we get error, impersonate method does not exist. So let's create this method. Run this test again. This time errors change and it means we are making progress. Now our assertion is failing. 2 matches expected 1. Now let's see how this functionality gonna work. Let's bring a request object here. Now inside here, we of course want to validate email. We need to say that the email is required, validate that it's an actual email, and we also want to check if it exists in the users table. Next, let's go ahead and grab the user associated to this email. User is equal to app user. Their email is request email. And grab the first user. Now what I am gonna do here, I will put auth user ID into the session. So for that we will use session helper. Session put impersonate by auth ID. And then we will log in that user here. So auth login and we pass that user. Next we will redirect to home page. Return redirect home. Let's run the test. This time it is green. Now our test is passing. So let's take a look at this in the browser. To test this in the browser, we need a new account which we want to impersonate. So let's log out this admin user and register a new account. John@example.com, password and register. This user is member user and he has no permission to impersonate. So log out and log in with admin user, that is Harish and example.com. Navigate to admin/impersonate, and here we gonna enter the email address of member user john@example.com and hit impersonate. Now we are impersonating as John, and we can do whatever we need on the behalf of John. The only problem is now we have no real way to get out of this unless we sign out. So here we will create a button, and on click that button we will stop impersonating and log in back to admin user. So let's start by writing a test. Here we will say admin user can stop impersonating. Copy all of these from here. So here we are saying sign in as administrator, then submit post request to this endpoint here to impersonate that user, and then currently auth user should not be the administrator, it should be now that user. Now to stop impersonating, we will send delete request to this endpoint. Next, this assert equals auth id is admin id. Let's run the test, and it will fail because we have not created that route. So in routes web.php, duplicate this. This is a delete route and action is stop. Now if we run this test, we got unauthorized exception. This is because here when we submitted this delete request, we are signed in as this user, and that user is a member user. In the impersonate controller, we have protected this route and it is open to the only admin user. So here we will say protect everything except stop method. And here we say user can stop impersonating. Run the test, and it failed again. Stop method does not exist. So let's create this method. Run test again, and this time our assertion is failing. So how we gonna make it pass? Right here we have stored admin user ID in session. So here we gonna grab that ID and log in that admin user. So here we say auth login using ID session impersonate by. Now we no longer need impersonate by in session. So let's delete this. Session forget impersonate by. And next we will redirect to admin impersonate page. That's all here. Let's run the test, and this time it is green. Now we want to see this in the browser. So first let's add stop impersonating button in the navbar. For that let's navigate to layout app.blade.php. Right here we will add the button. So here we say if session has impersonate by, then we're gonna add li class nav -item, form method is post, action is admin /impersonate, CSR token, and method delete. Button class btn -link, and here we say stop impersonating. This is all here. Head to browser, refresh. Here we have stop impersonating button. Click on this button and we are switched back to admin user Harish. Let's see one more time. We will impersonate John@example.com, hit impersonate.
Now we are signing in as John, and here we can take actions on the behalf of John. If we stop impersonating, we switch back to admin user Harish. This is all in this video. If you like the tutorial, hit the like button, share this video, and don't forget to subscribe us. See you soon in the next upcoming video.